program is this morning on ITV, bringing us to our first talking point, where we'll be looking at what the Nigeria Correctional Service is doing in terms of rehabilitation of inmates. There are also times where the service was faced with so many challenge of attack in Plateau, in Edo, in Kaba, in Imo, pockets like that. Are also times that some of them even have to lose their life, all in a bid to, correct those that have been convicted by courts. And we also have issues with those that are there. They went in innocently and they came out very, very hardened. I want to ask the question, how come drugs find its way into the correctional facility? The question also will be put on why some of the ladies in the custodial center, are taken advantage of by people that are not yet known according to the custodial facilities. Women go in and they come out with pregnancy. Some remain there and put to bed. These issues and many others will be answered through the eyes of the Controller of Corrections, and it's also the Public Relation Officer, Francis Enebore. Very good morning. You're welcome.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Okay, let us start on a very light note, which is the attacks that, of course, the center has faced in recent times.
Yes, thank you once again for having me and granting me this opportunity to throw light into some of the issues that you have raised. And I'm starting with the issue of the attacks that the custodial centers in Nigeria have been experiencing in recent times. I would like to say that it's an unfortunate development. It's a fallout of the general insecurity that Nigeria is unfortunately passing through. We are very confident that it's a passing phase. It will definitely go away with time. We are beginning to decode the attackers, and appropriate actions are being taken. Both kinetic and non-kinetic measures are being put in place to ensure that such unholy development, doesn't repeat itself. And I'm talking specifically on this issue. I want to say that for a very long time we've never had the issue of internal insurrection among the inmates, which one could attribute to either poor management or the inmate agitating for their rights that will probably degenerate to chaos and riot. We've not had that because the management of the system has come up with a lot of welfare packages to address the needs of the inmates. So relatively, there has been calm and quiet within and among the inmates. Unfortunately, we've had, starting from the fallout of the NSAS protests that resulted in the attack of our facilities in Edo, in Ondo, and then we also had the one that happened in Imo State. So these are organized attacks, directed at our facilities. They come in with sophisticated weapons, sometimes with explosive, with military grade weapons to attack the facilities and release the inmates in custody. It's an unfortunate development. We are, like I said, we are putting up a lot of measures to ensure that it doesn't repeat itself. And if you allow me, I want to quickly say, speak to some of the measures we are putting in place, because yes, the news of the attack is already well known, but the question is, what are we doing to ensure that it doesn't repeat itself? Now, I talked about the kinetic measures. This will involve having more men on ground, or upgrading the capacity of the armed guard to withstand that caliber of attack, and synergizing with sister security organizations to help secure the custodial facilities. That's the much I can tell, because there are so many other plans and programs that are also being put in place to put up a formidable force against this. Of course, you know, the federal government has long declared custodial facilities as red zone. You know, that it's not a place you go and violate, and whoever attempts it is calling for maximum resistance, which I mean, in fact, the person is literally calling for death, and so that angle is being pursued. But more importantly, we are pursuing very vigorously the non-kinetic measures, and chief among these measures is what we call dynamic security. Dynamic security, roughly, summarized, is developing constructive constructive and positive relationship with inmates, the inmates family, the relations, the corrections community, and every stakeholder that has something to do with inmates in our custody. We are, through that dynamic security approach, we are able to understand the inmate, bring them closer, relate with them, empathize with them, know what their needs are. They will see you as genuinely pursuing their cause. Their relations, the same thing. Their counsels and every other person that has anything to do with our facility, even the immediate community, we want to make the service look more friendly, more humane.
Yeah, because
these are the approaches.
Before we look at that, the issue of attack worries, some Nigerians, especially those that know that when it comes to rehabilitate the facility, it's really going to take, some chunk of money from the poultry that we have in our coffers. And so, how do you gather intels, which is the most important thing? Because these issues are not spontaneous. They are planned. Some even come, permit me to even take a look at how to attack and how to resist, and in case there's a backup where to escape from. So do you actually have time to gather intels in all the facilities, internal and external?
Yes, thank you. I was good. It's part of the non-kinetic measures I told you we are also putting in place, fostering closer bond with the custodial community. When I say custodial community, I mean both the surrounding community members, the inmates, their relations, staff, visitors, and all of that. From there, you generate adequate and actionable intelligence to be able to address some of these challenges. And I can assure you that it has helped us. The approach has been very rewarding. It may interest you to know that a couple of other centers that attempts were made were able to, of course, were able to foil such attempts. Attempt was made in one of our facilities in Edo State. The state controller rose to the occasion and was able to control what would have resulted in mass escape and devastating consequences. Ditto in Kanu and in I think Oyo, we also had similar attempt to breach security of our custodial center. These areas, they were adequately handled. In Lagos, the same thing. So we have different approaches that we are trying to put forward to ensure that these ugly incidences are put to rest.
Okay, we hope it will not happen again. Looking at what you have told Nigerians on what the center the facility is doing to ensure that it doesn't raise its ugly head again. Now, let's look at how inmates are, are being churned out from, bad to good. Those that are worse off when they come to the facility and they are done with their jail term, the family see them and they say, wow, this place has really changed you. What is really happening? How are you, achieving that?
Thank you very much for that question. Let us start with the change in name. From until 31st of July 2019, the service was known as Nigerian Prison Service. The signing into law of the Nigerian Correctional Service Act bill, which is now an act of the Parliament, has now changed the name from prison to corrections. And a lot of people used to ask, what has changed? Is it just changing name?
The uniform is
just changed
the people are still the same.
What has really changed to warrant the change in name? And I tell you that a lot has happened, quite a lot. To start with, let me speak directly to the question on rehabilitation of inmates. We know that, like you said, inmates, the persons that have been adjudged by courts of competent jurisdiction to have run foul of the law, and by that token, they are seen as people lacking of the the moral requirement to associate with other persons in a civilized manner. They are brought to our custody. Now, what happens to them while they are there before they are allowed to go? I start with the beginning. You bring them in, you profile them, you understand, assess their risk and need elements, and then you now begin to get a picture of why they went into criminality. Then what do you do to assist this person out of that path to the path of propriety? There are some you know they require religious intervention. Some require to be propped up in industry. Some require financial empowerment or training to be able to attend to their needs. And I tell you the different categories of inmates we have. For instance, a sex offender may not necessarily need vocational rehabilitation or financial empowerment, because some of them are rich, they have the money. His problem is moral. It has to do with moral, it has to do with connecting him back to his creator and others. So all these things over time we have been doing, we have been upgrading, we have been trying to package and rebrand the system. I tell you, a combination of what we are doing there. In 2018, the service won the highly coveted Confucius Prize in literacy and vocational empowerment for our inmates. The prize was given to the service by UNESCO. Anybody that knows UNESCO will know that it's an organization you cannot bribe. It's an organization, when they are assessing you, you will not even be there. You won't know the criteria they are using. They gave the service that prize, and the prize was given to the Consul General in Paris. The whole world rose to celebrate Nigeria, courtesy what Nigeria Correctional Service was able to do in the lives of offenders in our custody. So gradually, both local and international communities started seeing the need to adopt a name, a suitable name that matches what the service is doing with its name, because they say people people live their name. Now, if this much is being done for inmates, and to the extent that we have those that there are some that will come into our facility without school cert, and gradually we build them up, we encourage them, we tutor them, give them the necessary conducive environment to develop themselves. They read, they get their school cert, they make progress, they enter the university via the collaboration with National Open University of Nigeria. Some of them, they get their first degree, second degree, run their PhD program. Then it became very obvious that this system can no longer fit into that nomenclature of prison. These are the build-up that led to that change. All of them, these are the build-up that led to that change in name, so that the organization can now live its true name. And I tell you, those that are not, those we have adjudged, I told you that as they are coming in, we assess them. We know those that can still progress in that academic line, those that do not have that capacity to progress along.
How do you assess?
And we have it's a technical approach. It's technical. People are trained deliberately to do that. We have sociologists, we have social workers. They have different instruments that we apart from asking questions and there are other instruments you apply on them, and then you analyze and know where each of them will fit. So those that cannot follow the normal the academic line, we encourage them to choose an industry or a number of vocational training that we have sundry vocations in our custodial centers.
But what about the high profile persons that are in the custodial center? What happens to them? Are they also subjected to rehabilitation?
Yes, you see, there are languages we use in our system. We don't say subject, we say encourage. What we do is
encourage.
Yes, what we do is when we like those high profile individuals you talk about. I did mention that there are some individuals that you come, you assess them, you know that they don't need financial empowerment, they don't need vocational training, they probably need spiritual intervention and all of that, sports therapy and all. Now, for those high profile individuals, some of them are encouraged to go into writing. They'll be writing books. Some are encouraged to go into, we assess them, they also help us to train the inmates, other inmates, to teach them where we have open university, special study centers. So we encourage them to utilize the opportunity they have or their stay to make the best of their lives. So some of them, they make themselves available to teach in some of these centers and help other inmates. So by and large, we through these sundry vocations, a number of the inmates are also encouraged to learn trade. At the end of, and we don't just say, okay, you can no longer follow, you cannot follow the normal academic program, go and learn only trade. We still encourage them to go through literacy program, so that when you leave, at least you can write your name, at least you can sign signature, at least you can add figures, the measurement tape and all of that things, in case you are into dressmaking, shoemaking and all of that, things that would require measurement. So you are encouraged to learn this basic literacy, that will help you in establishing your trade. So these are the packages we have. At the end of the day, you have inmates, even those that are running different programs in the university, they also learn trade. Presently we have about 970 inmates that are running different degree programs in different study centers of the National Open University, and 5 of them, to be specific, are doing their
for their bills.
Good. The National Open University, they were very magnanimous when they saw the progress the inmates were making and the effort of our personnel to ensure that they leave lasting legacy in these inmates. They came in and declared tuition free program for them. So long as you are an inmate, you begin to you run the program free of charge. But I tell you one interesting thing that happened a couple of years back. An inmate in one of our
facilities. So they run the program, both materials, both whatever they require, the National Open University give them for free.
Yeah, it's tuition fee. It's tuition free. It's online. It's basically online.
Yeah,
so we try to get books in our library for them to use. Now, I tell you one interesting thing that happened a couple of years back in one of our facilities. There was this inmate that was brought in. He had spent several years there awaiting trial. We was encouraged to write his school cert. He wrote his school cert. He got his school cert. Further encouraged to go into the university program. He entered. He was in his 3rd year, I think. Then a a warrant of release came, that he had no case to answer. This boy broke down in tears and said nobody can force him to leave that place, that he was not leaving. Because the thing is that if you leave, as you are stepping out of the custodial facilities, you begin to pay your bill. That is for the
for those on scholarship.
Yes, because your scholarship will terminate when
the scholarship is tied to the fact
that's why as an inmate. So he was not saying, if for this number of years that he had nothing, now that he is in his third year, just about to is now they are saying he should leave. So we have to keep begging, and that we don't have the power as an organization to keep him for extra 1 day. You know, so. But the good aspect of it, the good news at the end was that we were able to link him up with an NGO that now volunteered to pay for the last lap. So
it's a good one there. But while we have people go in and come out, you know, good people, or with them behaving, you know, better than the way they were, we also have those that went in good and they came out terribly bad. What is responsible?
Yes, thank you. Now, the way you easily profile such individual is to know the status of these individuals while they were in custody. Remember that all these packages, training, rehabilitation, and the reformation program that I just spoke about, they are all built and directed at those that have been convicted. Because you cannot rehabilitate, you cannot reform someone who is not, who is an innocent person. A doctor cannot go to the street to catch a healthy person and say, no, I must give you drug. It's when you have been declared a sick patient that they now say, okay, go to the pharmacy, take this type of medication. So some of these individuals, they stay, unfortunately, for a very long time in our facilities as awaiting trial. So their approach, the way we involve them in all this training and all of it is limited, highly limited, because you cannot force them to any of the vocational training center. You cannot even force them to go to school. They tell you they are just here, they are innocent any moment. In any case, as an awaiting trial person, his date is not determined. The length of his stay in your custody is not specified, which means he can go to court today and he is discharged and he doesn't come back again. From there he goes home. So if you put such a person to run a program, he may be leaving the very day, the second day after his registration. Or maybe when a critical training program, a session is to be organized, he goes to court and doesn't return. So their involvement in training, in capacity building, in encouragement to go to school and all of that is highly limited. So when you see an individual stay for a very long time as an awaiting trial, and the service does not really have a compelling need to repackage this individual, because he has not been declared a felon. He is just there vegetating. So any day he leaves, the ingredients of reformation and rehabilitation have not actually been built in him.
Because he's not a convict.
He's not a convict. So he has a higher propensity to go back to crime.
For someone who is not an inmate, the custodial system don't have business with that in terms of rehabilitation.
No, what I mean, if you are not a convict, we don't have a
you don't benefit from any of the packages.
It's not as if you don't benefit. What I mean is you cannot compel such an individual to go to school or to go to a workshop. You understand? So you can only encourage the person and say, look, instead of just roaming about, why can't you go and attach yourself to a wedding workshop or barbing workshop and learn something? Sometimes he puts his hand in his pocket and say, what are you saying? Is it because I'm here? Anyway, I don't blame you. Tomorrow you may not see me. He walked away. And you cannot, but for a convict, you can call him and say, look, this type of thing, this your headiness was what led you to criminality. Look, you cannot be roaming. Go and sit down in the workshop. You tell the workshop, the instructor there, and say, look, ensure that this person put extra on him. We want he must learn something. So these are the dynamics in managing these
what is your collaboration with other sister agencies?
Yeah, no collaboration with other agencies. If you are talking about security agencies, is basically on protecting the integrity of our custodial centers against all these external attacks. That is how it goes. But with other development partners, they come in with different packages. Some can come in with even vocational training programs to help build the capacity of inmates. So quite a number of them. Some also come in to help us build a network of information around the need for hygiene, for a whole lot of program that we need to keep the inmates in safe and humane custody. And you know, the service has actually been rated high in the area of providing medical care for the inmates. Despite the fact that our facilities are always almost breaking in terms of congestion, we've been lucky. The combination of God's assistance and the resilience of the management of the service to ensure that the inmates are kept safe and in a humane condition. We've never had the outbreak of any of these pandemic or even endemic diseases. In 2014, 2014, we had Ebola that ravaged so many countries, and people in the free world, they were all capitulating, but we never lost a soul amongst the inmates to
what is your relationship?
Now COVID is ruling the roost. God has been very kind to us. We've never had not even a case of COVID-19 patient in our custody, despite the level of congestion, and which naturally would have presented is a scenario where almost everybody would have been falling down and dying. So these areas have been. So
that area well is worthy of commendation. But with your collaboration with NDLEA, how is it like?
What do you call it?
NDLEA.
Okay, NDLEA. Oh, fantastic. You know, most of the heinous crimes, they are most of them are committed under the influence of hard drugs. Some we need to take the drugs to give them extra boldness to commit
and courage,
or they will need to go and commit crime to get money to buy the drug. So whichever way you look at it, drug remains the centerpiece of it. So NDLEA has been very supportive. Anytime we have, sometimes they come to give education to our inmates, to our staff, to everyone. So because education, exposure, knowledge, you can't do it. You can't do without it. So they help us in providing demand reduction.
Despite that collaboration with NDLEA, how comes the custodial center is almost a place where you can go and get drugs of all kinds?
No, I disagree with you that custodial centers are places where you go and get drugs. Yes, what may play out in the isolated cases will be that we arrest people trying to smuggle in drugs, or during our search, because we carry out regular search. The custodial center will search, we do serious search, a part of our routine activity. So maybe in course of doing this, you see some of these drugs. You see, custodial centers
say they go there, they don't know how to smoke, but of course when they find themselves there, they came out and they are chain smokers.
Yes.
What happened? Is it that some of your colleague are compromised, or they look the other way when this business is changing hands?
No, I tell you, I just painted a scenario that sometimes some of these people are arrested while trying to smuggle in the drugs. I don't mean inmates alone. Sometimes some of our staff are arrested. Sometimes visitors are arrested. Sometimes even people that present themselves as counsel, some relations, they are arrested trying to smuggle in these drugs. I think what matters is not the way I look at it, not whether a crime is being committed, but the organization in charge of monitoring such crime, do they have the capacity to ensure that it's adequately monitored? And whoever is caught doing that, do they have the capacity to ensure that justice is meted? Yes. That's what.
If your staff is caught, if your staff is caught selling, what happens to such a staff?
Trafficking, possession of drugs is a criminal offense. The staff is, first of all, is educated. After the education is handed over to NDLEA for prosecution. And of course, if you have been reading some of the press releases by the
we have not seen. We have not seen.
Oh wow!
We have not seen.
Oh wow! That's unfortunate. I can assure you, I will send. The published, not even the ones we have in our in my file, the published cases,
the ones that are prosecuted, we don't even see them.
What just hold on, what I'm saying is what any staff that is caught with these hard drugs, what we do with them. I told you that once they are adjudicated, they are handed over to NDLEA for prosecution. And I have promised that the published individuals, the cases of some of our staff, inmates, relations, visitors that have been arrested at different points with hard drugs, that have been published in the different newspapers. I promise to send those ones to you if you have not read any of them. But what I will send them to you, because what we don't compromise is smuggling in drugs into our system and allowing the illicit drug to fester. The reason is this: we all know the far-reaching implication of exposing inmates to hard drugs. We don't run our custodial centers by proxy. We stay right there with them. So if you are not careful, if you think you are...
So for now, you don't have technology that detects if someone is coming in with a drug?
Technology has out.
Yeah,
what we do
that can scan and say, okay, what are you carrying there? The system has.
Those ones are elementary. We have those. I'm telling you, higher level of our approach. If you have the best scanner on earth, you have the best technology on earth, and you don't have the human beings to that are propped.
So you mean
by training?
If you have a compromised staff, it will seem
that is it. So we focus more on individuals that have been developed both in capacity and in knowledge, in morals to do this job, to run the scanner, to do all those things. So that is our focus. Not to buy. You can wire the whole place with the best of technology. Yet someone will be at the control room to do the work. If you concentrate on just technology and you abandon the human element, the person will go there and put off the whatever
system
and allow it to pass. And
so you go and collect his own.
So what will become of the relevance of your technology? So we are more interested in addressing the issue in a more advanced and result-oriented approach, rather than just focusing on go and build canal, go and build whatever gadget.
Well, I must thank you for your time on the program. Viewers, the discussion has been with the controller of corrections, public, and also the public relation officer, Francis Enebori. Before we go, this question has been popping up. You have ladies, those that are inmates. Some of them are molested while
thank you very much. It has been a very big disservice if you didn't allow me to address that issue, because in your
I said that.
Yeah. I sit here to say that it is not true that female inmates go into custodial facilities and get impregnated. To start with, from the gate of every of our facilities where you have female, from the gate to the least person or the highest person that run that facility where we keep our female inmates, they are all female. will not allow males to go near there. Not even the officer in charge of the custodial facilities, where sometimes we have very large facilities, then they carve out a section for female. The officer in charge of that entire facility cannot enter that female section without permission of the officer in charge of the female section.
Who is a female?
He goes to the gate, he knocks, and he must be escorted. He must be escorted, because whether you are only going there maybe as an officer in charge, you want to greet the inmates there, you want to know how they are faring, you want to at least let them see your face as a father of everybody and greet them. Whatever be your reason, or maybe one of them is sick and you cannot go there unescorted, and you cannot go there without the permission of the officer in charge, who is a female of that. You listen to, he will announce that he is coming, then the officer in charge will now announce to the female that a male is coming, then they dress up.
But despite all of that, how come they still take him?
That is what, just allow me to explain this. Some inmates, before they come into the custody, are already pregnant. Some of them, the pregnancy cannot just start today and then the stomach will be bulging. Some of them will take it at their very early stage. They go into the house something that will take them to custody, and they come in. What we now do to address these accusations, which of course permit me to use this language, are baseless. To address all these pockets of accusations, what we now do is that as a female inmate is coming in, the first thing we do is to carry out pregnancy tests to establish the status of that woman. The reason, in addition to what I just said, will be to enable the management know the status of the woman, and then put the inmate on special care. If she's found to be pregnant, then you now know the kind of care that she will receive. Because custodial centers, whether you call it a FAFTA or not, once you call this place a restricted environment, is a prison, an incarceration, as soon as you go there, your entire system will change. There are some individuals that will enter the custodial center. Once the main gate is locked, you see them either they begin to soil their clothes. So, and then you now begin to imagine what will be the status of a pregnant woman in that environment. So this is why we take extra care to ensure that once your status is established and that you are found to be pregnant, we now know where to place you. So okay. It is not.
So let's just leave it here for today. Some other time you will come, and when you come, we'll go into details. But for what you have said, you have actually, speak to some of these issues that are really on the minds of many Nigerians. That women, ladies go in and come back with, pregnancy. You have said it's not true. And of course, when you come to the issue of the compromise, the custodial center becoming, a zone where you have exchange of different kinds of drug. You have also had your mind on that, but it's also good that you correct those that are convicted. Some that have primary school sat, they end up writing their WAEC and NECO and coming out with very good result. I also have those that are there, they don't have first degree. Some have to go up the way with even coming out with a PhD. Is a good one. No wonder UNESCO invited the center far away in Paris, and they were awarded. It's a good one. We'll celebrate that too.
Thank you very much.
Okay, now before we go, is Francis Enebore is the controller of corrections and equally the public relations officer. Thank you one more time. Thanks for your time with us.
Thank you very much for having me once again. Thank you, Nigerians.
All right, so we'll take a quick break. When we come back, the program continues.